Hey guys, this is Philip. Today I'm going to show you how to create custom AI agents with Blockli Assistant. Now, Blockli Assistant comes pre-built with some agents already. So we've got the WooCommerce agent, LearnDash agent, Fluent CRM, Fluent Community, Give WP, Body Bars, just pretty much a lot of pre-built agents that have already been pre-trained, enabled with certain capabilities that they're able to do things. But you also have the ability to create your own custom agent for certain things that you want to do that is outside of what we cover. So I'm going to show you how to do that real quick. So let's jump right into WordPress. So this is the Blockli AI interface, right? When we come in here, what we want to do is you want to go to agents. So right here, so we're going to jump in here. And then if you go to all agents, here you can see all of the agents that we've got, right? So you've got Fluent CRM, like I said, Give WP. You even have a plugin manager agent that can help you to install plugins, deactivate plugins, check out the health of your plugins. And then we've got the WooCommerce agent that can create, WooCommerce products and do a whole bunch of stuff. LearnDash agent, the same thing. So each of these agents have their capabilities. But now, and of course, we're going to be adding, more and more agents. Now, if you want to create your own custom agent, so what you have to do is come here and just click Create Agent. So here, you can see that you've got this nice interface that allows you to create your agent. And then on the right-hand side, you can actually test it out in real time. So to create an agent, you simply come in and you upload the image of your agent. So you go here, and then we're just going to select this WooCommerce agent. Just, we're creating a hypothetical agent. And then this is going to be a multi-purpose agent, but because I'm going to give it a whole bunch of tools, right? So right here, we're going to do a multi-purpose agent here. And so right here, I've got that. And then you put the description of the agent, right? So the description is really for you so that you can kind of remember what this agent does. But the language models, the AI systems don't need that. Now, what is important to your AI is the instruction, the system instruction, or what you call the system prompt. Now, I know some of you may have been hearing things like, context, system prompt, prompt engineering, all of that stuff, right? Well, we've pretty much sort of abstracted those technical stuff and just give you a nice interface that you can just build your own agents yourself without having to worry about the technicalities behind it. So the instructions is where you give your agent its behavior, right? So you tell it, you give it its personality. So in this case, you can say you are a WooCommerce. Let's say you are a multi-purpose agent, right? You're a multi-purpose agent. So I'm just gonna pause this video and type this out. Okay, so I have just, typed in this. So here I've given the description and then I give the instructions. I say you're a multi-purpose agent with access to tools to create and send coupons to recipients and also manage a pet store. You can also manage contacts in Nifty project management, use the available tools. I think I have a typo right here. Use the available tools to assist the user based on their request. You have a professional personality and be concise with your responses, right? So we've defined the characteristics and the behavior of and personality of that agent. So now we're gonna come to the most important part. What makes AI agentic? It's its ability to send to perform actions. And in order to perform actions, it's going to need tools. This is where everything we've been doing as far as software is concerned. The standard way that software is built is that when you build a software, especially SaaS products, you have to have APIs, which is application programming interface, that allows other systems to connect with your application. So pretty much every software out there has an API, right? So now that we have AI and they have the ability to call and make API calls, right? So all you just have to just do is to give them access to your API. So in this case here, there are two, we're going to talk about two levels here. There's what you call the MCP. We're going to touch that later. But let's start with the basic one that most of us are familiar with, which is API and webhooks, right? So, of course, if you're familiar, webhooks are basic, endpoints that you can send data to, and then you can use that to kick off a whole chain of automations, right? And so let's work on that. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an uncanny recipe. So this uncanny recipe is going to listen for a webhook, and then it is going to receive these fields, right? The code, the description, recipient, email, and all that. And then the action is going to perform is going to be to generate a coupon that I give to it and then send that coupon as an email to someone, right? So now you can see how Blockli Assistant can literally be the command center for all of your plugins. So in this case, we're talking about Uncanny Automator, right? You can use Automator WP, you can use Bitflows, N8N. I'm a big fan of N8N. That's what I use for automations these days. So by the way, now this recipe right here needs to be triggered, right? So traditionally, you would trigger this through something else. Maybe somebody submits a form, right? And then you're going to make a webhook call to this recipe, and then it will run that action, right? So now, but what we're doing here is that the same thing, but now we're giving this recipe as a tool to our AI agent, right? So let me quickly fill that out, and I'll pause this video and get right back. So right here, I have come in and I've given this tool a name, and I have provided that webhook. So in this case, you can see right here, this is the webhook here. I just copied it and then I put it in here. It's a push request. Of course, you want to make sure that, it's a push request. So then here you are going to put the fields that recipe needs, that tool, right? So a tool can be anything. It could be an Uncanny recipe. It can be an N8N webhook. It could be a Zapier webhook. It could be like just about anything, right? This is so beautiful. So now here I'm going to specify the required fields that are needed, because here in Uncanny, these are the fields that this guy is going to be waiting for, right? So I put all of that in here. Now there's no authentication. Now some webhooks might require an authentication. If it requires an authentication, then you have to put whether it's your API key or the bearer token, but this is an open webhook, so it doesn't require an authentication. So once I put all of these things in, the next thing I'm going to do is to test it. So to test it, I'm just going to start this here. Uncanny will listen for 60 seconds, and then I'm going to fire that webhook from here. So I'm going to click here. So you can see that we have successfully tested that. So if you go back to Uncanny, you can see here it's also detected that, right? So we confirm that this is working. Now we are going to save this recipe and then activate. Now let's go back to Blockli. So right here, we know that this tool works. So what we're going to now do is we're going to save the tool. So we're just going to come here and click Save Tool. Now that Uncanny recipe has been added as a tool. Now you can add as many tools as you want. So all you have to just do is do what we just did here. And then you can also add APIs, right? So in this case, we're going to use an open API, and so that I can show you how this works as well. So I've got these open API here. This is a pet store API. So any API that you have that is done with the Open API 3.0 standard will have, so you will need two things. You need the base URL of that API, and then you also need the schema of that API. So if an API is done correctly, you are going to have those two things. So for this particular one, they provide us with the schema of this API. So I'm just going to come here and copy this link. And then I'm going to go back to Blockli Assistant here. And we're going to call this Pet Store API. And then I'm going to say this manages a pet store inventory. Right. Let's get it over here. Now we're going to provide the the schema of that API. Now, mind you, if you are using something like Blockli's pre-built agents, so for example, the WooCommerce agent, right? You don't need to do all this stuff because the agent has already been, all these things have been done under the hood for you. But, for those of us who want to create our own agents, right? So I come here and then I'm going to import that schema. So if I click here to import that API schema, you can now see that all of these capabilities that this API has, which is to update an existing pet, all of these stuff, all of these capabilities that this API has, Blockli Assistant, now your agent, now discovers those things. And these things will become tools that the agent can use. So meaning that the agent can update an existing pet, it can add a new pet to the store, it can now all that type of stuff, right? So now you will then, and you can see we automatically also fetch the API based URL and then put that for you here. Now, if this API requires an authentication and API key, then you're going to do that. But this one is an open one. So we're also going to save this too. So you can now see that we got a native WordPress webhook using Uncanny, which I said you can use automated WP, webhooks, whatever plugins that allow you to expose webhooks in WordPress, you could do that, right? And then we've also used an external API in this case. Now, for example, let's say you want to create a WooCommerce, a Shopify agent. You can literally just create that and then use your the Shopify API and your Shopify key and put it here, and then you can manage Shopify right inside your WordPress environment using your custom agent that you've just built. So now that we've got all of this created, now I can add some sample prompts. This is not necessary, but sample prompts are like quick prompts that when you're going to use this, if you know some of those things that you do most often, that you don't want to come back in and start typing it again. So for example, one of them could be create a coupon and send it. So this will be create coupon. And then here, the description will say create a coupon and send an email to the recipient. Send to recipient, right? So we're gonna go here, right? So you can see that. So you can add as many prompts as you want. So if I come in here and I can say fetch the latest or current inventory. I can say get inventory right here, and then I'll say get the store, the pet store inventory, and then so you can see they can add as many as you want. Now, if you want this particular agent to be accessible on the front end, meaning if somebody go to your website, they will see a chat bubble that they can use to interact with these agents. Now, in that case, that could be an agent that's like a customer support agent. So let's say you've built a customer support agent and you've given it the ability to, do customer support. Like you can give it your knowledge base, you can give it your ability to, process refunds and answer people's questions and things like that. Once you're done building that, if you toggle this on, then it's going to make that agent available in the front end. But if not, that agent is only accessible through the admin dashboard here in Blockli Assistant. So we've got all of this described now. So we'll just go ahead and create this agent. So we're going to come here and create the agent. Good. So agent is now created, and then we can test it in real time. So right here, I can come here and I can come here and say, hi, what do you do? Right? Now send that. Wow. So look at that. So it says, hey, I can help you, with a few practical tasks, marketing, operations, and document. So it says I can create and set WooCommerce coupons by email, custom code to create a message. I can manage a pet store. I can download and extract documents. I can generate chart for trends, and I can manage project contacts and basic project related actions, right? So that's why, because you can see here, this is what we told the agent that it's capable of doing. Right. So I didn't even, so we missed one tool. We didn't give it the nifty project management tool. So I'm going to add here. So if you come here, now this is where I'm going to demonstrate the next level of tools that you can give your agent. So the first one is here. If you connect to do MCP, what is MCP? MCP is Model Context Protocol. So think of it as a unified USB that you use. So think of it this way. The best way I can explain it, and I've seen this done online, is, you know how Apple has their lightning bolt cable, right? And then Samsung or Android devices have the USB-C. So there was a disconnect. So if you had an Apple device, you cannot use the USB-C charger. You have to use a lightning bolt charger. So eventually they have to standardize that. And then Apple moved to making iPhones to use the USB-C charger. So think of that USB-C plug as a standardized connection tool that anybody can use. Now, in the world of AI and in the world of software, all that we've been working with so far has been APIs. So every software has an API. And that's why platforms like Zapier are pretty popular, because Zapier came in and they were able to, or Zapier they were able to bridge that gap by giving you a way to interact with those APIs. Now, but because every developer and every software is so different, so the way that they code their API, there is really no standardized way. So people's APIs could be very unique. So there's no way truly for you to build an AI agent that is API agnostic, meaning it can work with any API. You would have to manually and specifically dial in the specifics of that API. So you see, for example, when we pull this API called the pet store, if we didn't have these JSON schema here, right, this JSON schema might be different for another API. So what now was happening is that Anthropic, the guys who made Claude, came up with this concept of saying, okay, everybody, Apple, Samsung, right? Apple, you can't use the Lightning, charger anymore. Everybody has to use the USB-C. So whatever it is that you got going on behind the scene, make sure that you end up with a USB-C output, right? Outlet. So that's what MCP servers are. So MCP servers are still APIs, but now every developer and every software maker is forced to code that API and expose it in a certain structure and schema. And then that's what we call MCP server. So I can connect to any MCP. I don't have to worry about the schema and all of that. So for example, if you see that here, we had to go get the API schema and put it here in order for these to identify that API and how it's set up. But for MCP servers, I don't need to do that. So for MCP servers, you can just come in and then, you can add a custom MCP server. Same thing, you put the MCP server URL, and then if it has a token, you can put the token, and then you say fetch tools. I don't need to provide any schema. It will already discover it from that, from the MCP. Now, Blockli has pre-defined MCPs. Now we've got two. Now, because these are some some people had actually requested this and we put it in, right? So we're going to be adding popular MCPs like, Google Calendar MCP, Zoom MCP, if it becomes available, and those kind of things, right? So in this case now, let's give this agent this nifty MCP server. So once I put in, I can put on my credentials. I'll just spare you that. So now let's go back to this agent. Now let's ask this agent to do something. So we're going to say, create a coupon and send it to the user. And I can just use any email address here, and I can say, so create a coupon, send it to the user, founder at blockli.ai, right? And so I'm going to send this. And it's probably going to ask me for a few confirmations, right? So it says I can do that, a few quick details so I can create the right coupon and email to the founder. So it's asking, so now it knows of all those requirements, the things that are needed in order for you to use that tool. So remember, this tool that we created here had certain requirements that it needed to use, right? So now what we're going to do is we're going to give it all it needs. So say, we're going to say 20%, right? We're going to say 20%, and then coupon code, provide a coupon, or should I generate one? You can generate the code. You can generate the code, and then expiration date. Leave it open-ended. They are optional, right? So I'm going to ask you to do that. You can now see it's starting to work. It's doing the work. And the thing with Blockli Assistant is that you would actually see what's happening in the background, right? So the tools that your agents are calling, all the stuff that it's doing. So you can see here, it says done. I've created the coupon and sent it to the email address. The coupon detail is Blockli 20 for 20%. And then it's asking me for next steps. You know, you can add usage limit or expiration date, receipts to specific products or categories, or create additional coupons for A/B testing, right? So that's powerful, right? Because right now, that email, that coupon has been, created and been sent to that particular user. So then now that we've tested this and it's working, so what we just have to now do is we can just, S out of here, right? Now, next time when you go to work or you want to do anything, you can just come here and then you will find your agent. So if I go to all agents here, you can now see the multi-purpose agent that we created, which is this one right here. Fortunately, I didn't even give it a logo. So let me just even give it a logo. So let's find a good logo here for this agent and then put that there. And just so I can update this, right? So I'll now update this agent now. So if we now go to the agent, you can now see here, if we go to all agents and then we can open, let me refresh here. Perfect. So now you can start a conversation with that agent. You can always go and edit it. You can delete it, right? And so here I can start a conversation with this agent, right? So the same thing. And then I can come here and say, create a coupon, or I can say, let's try the pet store. What is the current store pet inventory, right? So we can send that, and then it's going to use that pet store API tool that we give to it to, ping that API and then fetch the details of whatever is happening. So you can see now that your agent can use all of these tools that you have given to it. So I can go back and change the persona. I can go back and add as many tools as I want to empower this agent to be able to do a whole, bunch of things that I would want it to do for me. And also when you are now in the main chat, so like I said, I don't know. So what happens is when you open Blockli Assistant, you will land on this one that says Blockli Assistant. This is the main orchestrator. This guy doesn't specialize in anything. Rather, he is more or less like an orchestrator. If you ask him a question, he's going to delegate that to a sub-agent. But from here, I can also access that my agent, which is this custom agent, this multi-purpose agent that we just created. You can see here, if I select that, it will now say that this is the multi-purpose agent and it is now doing what? It is now the one responding, right? So any questions I ask here, I'm talking directly to this multi-purpose agent. So there you have it. That's how to create an AI agent using Blockli AI Assistant. In another video, I'm gonna share other use cases and different other things. I mean, this is just the beginning. So Blockli AI Assistant can do so much. So I'm gonna be showing you guys how to use the plugin and how to use it to do work and actually deploy AI like a pro without having to go through all the technical stuff that go with it. So I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.